Goldylocks Productions broadcasts universal cosmic frequencies that unlock, awaken, and expand the consciousness of our worldwide viewers and listeners.
Goldylocks Productions presents the Inspiration from Spirit show with your host, Reverend Lea Chapin. The focus and goal for this show is to assist humanity in the awakening of a new level of consciousness that will bring peace to planet Earth.
Welcome. I'm your host, Lea Chapin. So glad you joined us today. We have a special guest. We have a delightful, well, I'm going to call him a friend, but he is a powerful sound healer, musician. Fred Mayer is with us today. So delighted to have him. You are in for a surprise. It is going to be so much fun. So get your dancing shoes on because we are going to have a blast. I want to welcome all those new listeners with us again. So if this is your first time, thank you for joining in to Goldylocks Production and to my show, Inspiration from Spirit. If you're a loyal follower and a Patreon, thank you again for being a part of our family. We really appreciate you. My show is always a delight for me. It's a joy to be here with all these special guests. There's so many amazing light workers out there, and Fred Mayer is one of those. He's a teacher, musician, sound healer. Fred earned 4 degrees in music, including a PhD in music therapy. His teaching experience started in 1977 in a remote village in Alaska, where he began training young musicians and organizing music students at that time. And he went on to conduct orchestra bands and choirs all over the U.S. In 2012 and 13, he turned his focus to sound healing and began studying in Switzerland, continuing his training in biofield tuning, which I have no idea what that means. But his current musical passion includes acoustical instrument design and construction, and especially tailoring that for ceremonial work. He's a gifted shamanic healer using tuning forks, drum, rattles, crystal pyramids, and much more. So thank you for being on the show, Fred. I have been in your presence and have listened to your music, and you are amazing.
Thanks, Lee. Thanks for inviting me today, and thanks everybody out there for joining us. It's a real honor and a pleasure to be here today. I am in Western New York today. I have been residing in Ashland, Oregon, and I am sort of a refugee from the fires and smoke out west. And I want to send my heartfelt blessings and healing and love to all my friends back on the West Coast, back in Ashland and in Oregon, and my family, my daughter who's in Ashland, my son and grandkids, and his wife up in Kaiser in the Salem area, who are really suffering through a horrific fire season. And I know some of my closest friends who have gotten burned out. And so I had the opportunity with my wife, Linda, to leave the area, opening up some space for someone else who needed a place to kind of gather themselves back together. So I'm happy to be on the show, and I'm safe and well. And I wish the best to my friends who are still in among the smoke and fires and continuing to hold it down there. So sending my love, and I want to dedicate this show to all the people who are suffering from fires and smoke, especially, and being displaced by that at this time. So this goes out to you folks.
Thank you, Fred. I know it's heartbreaking to see what's happening, and this was part of what I wanted to bring you on the show today, was because I know you're a sound healer, and we have similar interest in the metaphysical field and understanding about what's happening with the energy of purification that's taking place on the planet. So I want to start there a little bit. I guess we give your introduction. I guess if there's something else that you wanted to bring forward in terms of your credentials, but I wanted to move right into the fact that a lot is happening so that we can understand really what's happening here on the earth.
Yeah, purification, purification on one level can really work with all the elements. There's purification by fire. There's purification by water. There's purification with the air, and there's purifying the earth. So I think it's always helpful to drop in and be in contact with those elements, and purifying the ethers as well, your own energetic field. So whatever each of us feels is an important way to do that. There is no wrong way. So I would just encourage people to continue to touch in with the elements that are most potent for them that they feel like contacting. Each morning I go through and acknowledge all the elements, and if it's raining, that element gets acknowledged first. If there's fires, I acknowledge that element and trust that is being fulfilled. If the winds are blowing, I trust that. If it's just a beautiful earth day, that I acknowledge all of those elements. And that's just an important part of my daily practice in trying to stay in touch with what's going on around me. And once again, just acknowledging and thanking those elements for being present, and working with those elements, both in music and, as a gardener, as a grower, all those kinds of things. So, the purification process is unique in each one of these elements, and they express it in sometimes catastrophic ways and sometimes very refreshing ways. So the full range is always available, and just seems like being in touch with that is the best way to kind of get through when it feels uncomfortable.
And part of what you do as a musician, as a sound healer, is really changing energy or changing the vibration and bringing positive and uplifting energy. Tell us a little bit about how sound therapy works.
All right, let's just talk about sound, and let's also talk about sound as music. One of the things that I have been working with and trying to understand more deeply is the connection with sound and music, and when are things music and musical, and when are things purely sound and not necessarily wanting to interface with the musical world. And that has occupied my thoughts and my efforts for a number of years. So I think that the easiest way for me to think about it is that music has some sort of conscious organization. Okay, so if we're thinking about music that we listen to through either live music or some reproduced sound source, it's a music that, like, Beethoven thought out the whole symphony, or a rap artist has a particular sound in mind, and that's organized. Okay, but the consciousness of organizing sound goes beyond just the music that we listen to. Okay, so we sit out in nature. In a sense, that's another song of which another consciousness has created that sequence of sounds. And as a human being, we can sit down and say, okay, well, this doesn't sound like R&B. This sounds like birds and bees. Okay, so so then changing our way of hearing and listening to the sounds around us can put us in touch with the consciousness that made that music. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then there's music of the spheres, where the actual vibrations between planets and heavenly bodies has its own frequency and has its own interaction. So my definition today of music is any kinds of sounds that are consciously organized. Okay. Then there are sounds that we use specifically for therapy that may not take on a musical context. One of the ones I'm most familiar with is using tuning forks. Mm-hmm. And the two areas that I have been trained with, one was Tamado, which is the Academy of Color, Sound and Movement, and this uses tuning forks. This uses tuning forks on shoe points of the 5-element Chinese medicine. So the different meridians have specific points that we put the tuning forks on to get the kind of effect that we want. And it's very powerful. And there are 12 meridians, and there are 12 notes to the Western scale. So when you have a system of sound healing that you are convinced of, that you can practice, that works. There's all kinds of sound healing works. So another is the biofield tuning, which is I want to mention also Tamado is my teachers were Fabian Mamot and Terrace Unsold, and I want to thank them very much for all that they imparted to me. And also another teaching that uses forks is the woman by the name of Eileen Mikusnik, and she does biofield. She looks at the body as an electrical field. And strangely enough, if you have a tuning fork in your hand for enough time, you can strike the fork and you can bring the fork into one's etheric field, and you can feel where there are aberrations. So there are sort of like knots in your electric field around you. Many of you know about the physical body, etheric body, mental body, emotional body. So as you pass through these fields, you feel these knots. Well, these knots are incoherent, random, jagged energy, and the coherence of a waveform tends to calm those down, and then you can move this incoherent energy back into the center line of the body, and then actually cone that out of the body through a chakra, and that transforms and transmutes that energy and gets away from you. The importance of really trying to release electrical incongruent, jagged electrical energy and emotional energy from your field is that because we know that many dis-eases are caused from electrical stuff in your field that then coalesces and makes it into the body and creates dis-ease of one sort or another. There's a whole body of people who believe that cancer is an emotional disease. So I'm in no camps on this. I'm in all camps on this. So I think that it's important to keep your etheric field clear. So I'm going to demonstrate and share with you several different ways that I do that. But one other thing I want to do before we get into more blah blah is let's make some music. Okay, so. That's the easiest way. And so
that's your favorite.
That's one of the things I really like to do. Okay, so what makes music healing? Do you have what's your thought on that, Lee? What makes music healing?
What makes music healing? Gosh, I don't know. I guess the only thing I can think of is that it's just the vibration, that the vibrational frequency that harmonizes, with your essence is really the best way I can say it. I don't know if that's true or not true.
Yeah, well, it's true for you, so it's absolutely true.
If it feels good, then it's healing. It's like if it's like some music, like if you listen to something and you're like, oh, that's so soothing, and then you may listen to something else and it may be more grating. So apparently everything is, again, vibrational frequency. So what is an alignment? So part of this sound healing that we're talking about today is really to help us to align to a vibration of peace, is what I was hoping that we could help people understand, that we can use these different, you have different tuning forks, you have the rattles, the drums, your voice, everything just harmonizing the body so that we can return back to a state of peace.
Great. And that state of peace does a lot of things. It, first of all, balances and calms you so that whatever you need can come through. And I think most of the sound healers that I know and the ones that I work with and in my work, it's a matter of balancing the body's energy and calming it down so that all of the important transmissions that you are destined to receive can be more easily received. Okay?
And sound changes. How do I say it? We're so overstimulated with so much energy that as you are now going to bring this music forward, what's your intention today in terms of I don't know what instrument you're going to play, but what's the intention today that you wish to bring forward? Because there's like so much stimulation. I mean, we're here with our computers, we're here with our cell phones, we're here just with the electrical magnetic energy around us. Like we're overly stimulated. Our central nervous systems are overloaded. Tell us what this is going to do biologically for us.
If we could have scripted this on paper, this could not have been a better lead-in for what I wanted to talk about next. Oh. All right.
I must be psychic.
You reckon?
Whatever.
So many of you have heard the music of Jonathan Goldman. And I've read much of what he's written and listened to a lot of his music and met him. And had some conversations with him. He probably doesn't remember, but I do. And Johnny Goldman has a really wonderful, simplistic formula that has an analogy in the noisy stuff that we're listening to on a daily basis. Okay. So let's talk about the noise first, then we'll talk about the peaceful stuff that Johnny describes. Okay. When we listen to, let's say, like this podcast right now, there is a carrier signal over which we superimpose the audio and video. And then when it gets to the destination, the carrier signal is filtered out, and what's left is the audio that we have intended, the information that we have intended. This has been going on for over 100 years of radio, where an AM signal had a voice or music superimposed in it, and then that was then taken into the radio receiver. The carrier wave was filtered out, and the music or the spoken word was heard and became the communication. So what Jonathan Goldman says is that sound plus intention creates healing. Okay? So this puts a tremendous responsibility on any sounds that we create. And a lot of people who know me know that I don't really talk a lot. I really, I'll let the other people do the talking. When I have something to say, I say it and I'm done. This is about as much talking as I've done in a year. So I'm going to get a year's worth in your hour. So,
well, I'm a listener.
Okay, so that's good. All right, so so the intention that you send through the sound that you create is what is received and felt, because music and sound is a language of emotion. Words take on filter into a different part of our being. We hear the import, the meaning of the words, we hear the inflection that people are putting behind it, and what their communication is. So the thing that really drove this home to me for the first time was I'm going to tell a story about my daughter. Okay, my daughter's an adult, very successful woman, and she's a really good musician. And so in her early days, she was practicing piano. So it's like, okay, it's time to practice piano. I don't want to practice. Time to practice. No, I'm not going to. Yeah, back. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. So what is the emotion that's coming through that sound? She was ticked off, right? And so the responsibility of the musician is to really feel within their body what it is that they wish others to share. It kind of takes on the same thing with drama, with the stage, like taking on a character. That person who is acting a role on stage has to convince you of what character that they are, and what's going on, the personality with that, the plot, the action, okay? So the same thing with music. So if you want to project and to have people feel love, then how is the best way to do that? I mean, you can say love, but that's kind of all mental energy. So here's what I've discovered. Here's what I'm going to try and bring forth today. And I notice this with people who are really well-trained musicians, people who are sound healers who work beautifully and intuitively. I've just seen this everywhere. And that is the only thing that you really need to do to communicate love through sound is simply love the sound that you're making. Make a beautiful sound. And that makes you feel good, and it sounds good to the listener, and it's easy to do. It gets all the mental stuff. So I'm going to be trying to make some sounds. I'm not going to be trying. I'm actually going to make some sounds that I really love, and I'm going to improvise. And I'm playing this instrument called the monocotra. I'm going to get this framed up a little better. I'm going to play this instrument called the monocotra, which I designed this particular one. This is not the only one around. There are others around that have different features. So I'm going to unplug my headphones. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to play the monocotra, and the monocotra right now is tuned in G, and it has that's a seasonal tuning, and we can talk about that here in a few moments. And I'm just going to play a little bit of this, and there are 3 instruments in one on this Monocotra, and I make these, I design them and I make them, and if anybody's really interested, they can go to monocotra.com, and I can do a screen share with that if you want. Let me see that. Do I have that up? There it is. Okay, so monocotra.com. So if you want to get more information about this instrument, so this is an instrument that I designed mainly for ceremonial and for sound healing purposes. Although you can do it use it for other things. I have friends who use them as kirtan singers. I change the tunings every quarter to go with the seasons. Some people like to leave it in a simple tuning. I change the tunings around because there's a tamado tradition that uses that for harmonizing concerts, which we'll talk about also in a few minutes. So I'm going to play the Monocotra and also probably play a little bit of the viola for you, see how this goes. So enjoy. Here we go.
Thank you, Fred. And for those who are listening in and they want to send a comment, please just send your comments of how this music might have touched you. So thank you, Fred. That was beautiful. I felt like I was like in Turkey and I wanted to dance and have my little flowing robe and just do some movements. I don't know. I just felt like I did go to the country of Turkey like 2 years ago. So I felt like, I don't know, I just felt like Middle Eastern music, really, really cool. It felt, what I got, what tapped into me was, I felt like this was awakening me on a very deep cellular level. That's what kind of came into my consciousness.
Well, all I was trying to do is make some beautiful sound. So, but the tuning, that particular tuning does sort of bring a feeling of the Middle East. And the tunings actually are Vedic. That's a Vedic tuning that's traditional to the fall. It's called Shri, S-R-I, Shri. So that's one of the tunings that I use. There's actually two tunings. There's another tuning on the other side of the bridge. There's a tuning on this side, and then the tuning I just played, the Shri tuning. So each side of this bridges on the Manakotra has a different tuning to it. So
Did you say you designed this?
Well, I designed this particular one. I had seen others that had the monochord, which is the drone, and the koto, but without the tambura strings. So this combines three string cultures into one box. And I saw them and I said, I think I'm going to try and make a better mousetrap. That's kind of how I came about it. And so I work with some really, really good woodworkers in some shops, and I do the acoustic design and assist in the joinery. And they have the best tools. Everything's dialed in, and they have all the clamps and glue, and we just work together. And I show them what to do, and we discuss some structural ideas, and then we put them together. And so this is the third set of prototypes. So we made a run of about 6 of these, and about half of them have been sold off. And so I have 3 more of them. One of them I keep. This one I made just for this escape tour. Put this one together.
So you brought this in your car?
Yeah, in my van. Yeah, okay. And then I have another box that is not yet strung up back in Oregon, and so that one's available. And I use different woods with them depending on what's available and what I think might sound good. So
what other instruments do you play?
Well, you heard me play the 5-string viola. That, again, was another one of the instruments I designed. It looks like a very traditional instrument, but that was the 5th prototype run. And we made about 10 of those, and those are all distributed. And then we made another run of them in 04 and 05. So it's a 5-string viola. So most violins and violas and bowed stringed instruments of the violin family only have 4 strings, and these have 5. So it's a good teaching instrument. It's a little broader range for jamming, for improvising. I can play the music. I can play violin music and viola music all in the same instrument, and it just kind of fits me better. The viola has a little bit bigger sound, so I'm all about having plenty of loud sound. That's one of the things I work on with my students. Number one is get a good sound and make a big loud sound. I said that way you develop the musculature to be able to play loud or soft. If you never develop a loud sound, you never be able to play loud. So to develop a full range, develop the musculature and the technique to be able to do that. So
I want to change gears for just a second. Have you, and I don't remember what it's called, but using sound healing with plants?
Yeah, so.
What's that called? I think there was a place called in Italy, and there was a lady that came to St. Petersburg at the Sacred Lands in St. Petersburg. And they were showing how the plants were responding to music. They
definitely do respond to music. In my greenhouse, I always have the radio playing, to some kind of a musical station. There's 2 things that happen. One of them I can explain, has been explained. The other one remains the mystery for the plants to explain to us. But the one that's the most obvious is that just gentle vibrations is what stimulates the petioles, which is the pores on the underneath the underneath sides of the leaves. And when birds sing in the morning, that stimulates the plants to be able to open that, and that's part of their respiration process. So
that's cool.
Yeah, so there's a physical thing that happens with that, with sound and vibration and the natural kingdom. As far as how plants respond to music, we can see whether they're happy plants or not happy plants. But I'm not privy totally to what goes on inside a plant's life and consciousness process. I do know, and this is maybe come out, we're going to be on Pam's show tomorrow. We're going to be talking about permaculture. I'm going to be sharing some things about plants. I do know that plants do have a consciousness that I can tap in with just on a couple of levels. The story is that I ran an organic farm for 11 years in the Ozarks in Arkansas, when my main cash crop was basil. Restaurants loved it. Linda makes incredible pesto. So I prepped this bed, and this bed was, let's see, so 36 by 4. So it was like 120 square feet, 150 square feet roughly. Okay. So I prepped this bed. I mean, it's been 3 hours getting this bed ready to put in this full tray of basil. And so I said, well, I better check this out first. So I took off my shoes and I held on this tray of basil. I said, I prepared this bed for you. Is this where you guys going to want to go? So one of the intuitive tools I use of muscle testing is the lean. You know the lean? Yeah. And
like a pendulum.
Yeah, it's like a pendulum. It's and so I did the lean. I said, do you plants want to go there? And they went, no. I said, what? I just spent 3 hours prepping this bed. No. I said, okay, well, I accept that. So I went down to the next bed. Next bed. And finally, yes, I noticed that there was another kind of basil growing in that bed. They wanted to be with their cousins. So how
everything has a consciousness. Everything has a consciousness.
Everything is conscious. Everything is conscious. And so what an honor and a privilege to be able to tap into any kind of consciousness that we find uplifting and can make the best of in whatever way to help people and help the planet, help people around us.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That was my point, because as we talk about being aware of the consciousness of planets where we can see it, what is that called? Keratin or keratin or something?
I can't
remember.
Know. Tell me. I don't know.
I don't know. I witnessed it at the Sacred Lands, and somebody knows more about it than I do. But the reason I was bringing this up was because if the plants can respond to music and it can be documented, then we as human beings can understand or acknowledge how the music affects us in terms of our own biology. And just like you said, when the birds sing, then everything is connected. So the birds are singing, and then the plants are responding by opening up. So everything has, divine order. So as we begin to truly understand that we are affected by music, we can be affected by music. It can change our own biochemistry or allow us to move into a state of grace. How important that is for us to intentionally make sure that we have sounds that are healing, that are calming to us in this particular time when things are chaotic, when people are overstimulated, when there's a lot of fear, to begin to bring in the healing vibrations to help calm us, to move us back into a state of harmony.
You're absolutely right. And we each have that mechanism and that tool within us. And it's known as our voice. And so this is something else that I wanted to talk about today. As a teacher, part of my job is to put myself out of a job, right? I mean, you want to share enough information and knowledge that whoever is there to take that in can then use that and run with it and create on their own. Okay, so I think also my obligation as in the sound healing world is to empower people to be able to take care of themselves. I think it's great to have to be around and to have all my colleagues who work in sound healing and music to help support people who have a need. But how about if we learn some techniques today, right now, that you can put yourself at ease and transform your mental, your emotional chemistry, your body chemistry, and even get in touch with your own DNA and do some epigenetic tweaking as well. So would you like me to talk a little more? Yeah. Okay. So to show you just one story about how powerful our voices are, there's a a French sound healer, alchemist. Get away. Turn my phone down, but it came back on. Acoustician and physician. And his name is Alfred Tomatis, and he died in, I think, 2002, 2004. And he's a Frenchman. And in the early 60s and mid 60s, of course, there was Vatican II. And at the Council of Vatican II, they said we are no longer going to be singing everything in Latin. Services will be held in the vernacular language of the country where the churches are. So in France, there was a monastery where they had to follow this, and the Latin Vespers and the music that they were singing for hundreds and hundreds of years was suddenly banned, and they were now coming up with a new liturgy and new musical songs and musical service. And the monks fell ill. They became sick. The monastery called in physicians. They tried to treat them. Nothing worked. So somehow Dr. Tomatis came to the monastery and interviewed and checked out and examined all these monks. He said, well, what are you doing now that's different than what you were doing before? What's changed? They said, well, we're no longer singing. He says, well, go back and start singing the way you were. I instantly got better.
Imagine that.
So the voice is our most personal, immediate healing tool to be used by everyone. So how do we do this? Since I'm sort of on this refugee run out from the West, I did not bring a singing bowl with me. But I'm going to try and demonstrate. Okay, I'm going to show you three things. Here we are. I'm going to show three things, okay? One is you can use a bowl, but instead I'm just going to use the drone. I'm going to use the monochord and monocotra. And what I'll do is I'm going to match my voice to the drone, and I'm just going to sing clear. Clear my physical field.
Mm-hmm.
Clear my etheric field. Clear my mental field. Clear my emotional field. As then I'm singing, I'm also going to let my voice rise and then come back down. Okay.
Cool.
So if you like to sing, this is a good vocal technique. I have an okay voice, not a great voice. You don't have to have a great voice. You can have any kind of voice. This is your healing tool, and however you want to use it and deploy it is what's important. So this is demo number one. This works a lot better with a bowl because the bowl has a really clean, clear pitch, and you can match your voice, and you can do funny things with the bowl. Like you can get really close to the pitch and it starts to waver, and then the angels come in and they're like, oh, this is ticklish. It's very ticklish to us, So that happens, and then you can sing other intervals and get multiple tones. So anyway, I'll do a little bit of that and just give you a demo of that.
Oh, cool. Can't wait.
Okay. So just the act of singing, and as you harmonize with this drone, it's just you just play with the tones. And if you feel an area that is a little bit not where you want it to be, not in sync, a little bit aberrant, then you sort of sing into that, and you linger there as you're feeling where it is. Especially if you sort of scan as you're singing, you just allow the sound to emanate out into your auric field, and find places that are a little scratchy, a little bit, in need of attention. And when you create this coherent energy of your voice and the sound waves of a specific tone, then that tends to break that incoherent energy up and move it out. Mm-hmm. It just can't stand the congruent and coherent energy, mm-hmm. and it tends to go back to something that's much more peaceful. So,
but I know that you had injured your shoulder and you weren't able to play for a long time. How did that affect you in any way? Because I can feel your joy and your excitement. I know the music just really energizes you, and it's like it's in your blood. Did you feel a little bit different when you weren't able to play?
Yeah, of course. Fortunately, I just used some other outlets. Like I became the one-armed gardener for a while, and I ended up writing a couple of compositions, and things I had kicking around. So, well, I'm not doing too much playing, but at least I can get on the keyboard and, write a score and keep moving from that end. So, yeah, there's so many different, there's a lot of musical outlets that you can explore. So I was able to keep myself somewhat sane like that. But yeah, it's great to get back and to be able to, to play. I'm still building up my endurance on that. So
do you teach now? Do you still teach for those who might be interested in your knowledge? Do you teach online? Do you have a website? Or tell us a little bit more about how people can access.
Thank you, Lea. Yeah, the best way to get in contact with me right now is just go to the monacotra.com site, and all my contact information is there. So it's fiddlinfred51 at Gmail, or my Fred Mayer PhD at Gmail, and there's a phone number there. So that's the best way, is to go to the Monacotra site. Or if you're interested in acquiring a Monacotra, that's another thing. So yeah, I teach. I've taught from 4-year-olds who really kicked my butt. I had 3 4-year-old girls trying to learn violin, wipe me out. We'll never do that again. They totally took the cake. It was 10 weeks where I learned so much from them that it's just unbelievable. So, and I think my oldest student was 85. So I teach violin, viola. I can start people out on cello, bass. I teach a little bit of guitar, a little bit of mandolin. Music theory, composition, I conduct ensembles. So if you just want to talk about music and sound healing, I'd be happy to share anything. And, we can work something out and talk online, or however it works out best. So yeah, I'm happy to do that. And thanks for mentioning.
And your instruments, those are for sale? You have plenty, or you have to design some
Yeah,
more?
I have two for sale. This one and one other that's just the box that I have to string up. So there's some things that we can customize on it if you wish or not. And then I have to put the woods together and make another run of them. So it's not like I'm in a steady production of those. I make a bunch, sell them off, make some more, sell them off. That's kind of the way it works best for me.
You're never idle, are you, Fred?
Only when I really, really want to be.
Yeah, I was, reading your bio. I was like, oh my gosh, you've done so much, and you're so creative. And I mean, just designing those things, like, how do you know how to do this? I don't know, it just blows my mind. But anyhow, I'm just in awe, and I just want to say thank you for, using all your gifts and talents to help people and to bring this information forth today.
Well, thanks. So I do want to go over two other things where you can use your voice, okay? And it's going to get easier. That one might be a little tricky for people. So there is a book that I'm going to put this up on the screen. It's called the five Warrior Seed Syllables by Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche, a Tibetan. And these syllables also go with visualizations. And the syllables, he comes from the Bon Buddhist tradition. And the syllables, the first syllable is for the upper chakras. If you're in the 7 chakra system, I also use the 12 chakra system. But so the first one is for your upper 2 chakras, and that's the syllable ah. And then there's om for the voice. And then for the heart, let me see, I have is hung. And then solar plexus is ram, and the lower 2 chakras is tsa. And so I would really, I've used this practice a lot. And when you're needing some peace, this book comes with an audio so that you can go through this. And his explanation of each of these warrior seed sounds is really worth reading and understanding. And so by chanting these syllables and focusing on the different parts of your body and the image that goes with that, and he has specific images, and I won't really spoil the plot for you, but I would encourage you to look into that if you like to use your voice. And your voice is your most immediate healing tool. If you are looking for relief and release in any way, you have your own built-in mechanism, and you can use it and move forward, and it's super helpful. I mean, you don't have to go any further, especially in these times when people are worried about, cash flow and stuff like that. Just use your voice. And I'm trying to help people with that. So the C syllable was like, no. And for each one of these, he has a particular visualization. Om, Lom, Sa. And he also brings in part of this meditation, this release, is not only to let go of stuff, but also to bring in positive qualities. And he uses what's known as the 4 immeasurables. And the 4 immeasurables are described as loving kindness, compassion, equanimity, and joy. And so at a certain point, once you have released and gotten yourself sort of leveled out, then you can invite one of these immeasurables in, which is helpful for humanity and for your interactions with those around you and just your general environment of people that you might meet on a daily basis. So I'd really also recommend, in addition to singing to a drone, if you got a bowl, it's the most fun with the bowl. You'll get lost for 15, 20 minutes, come back and go, it feels so much better now. So, And then also the five warrior seed syllables, that visualization and vocalization, super helpful. And finally, there's another method that I picked up from a guy named Christian Michelson. I studied some life coaching with him and business coaching with him. And he calls this, I don't know if he came up with this or he has a team of people and someone on his team made, but he presents it. And it's called the peace process. And this is one I think people will find very easy to do and very meaningful. And that is sometimes, I would say most of the time, if you are anxious about something, if you close your eyes and go within, you can find a location physically in your body where that anxiety is focused. Mm-hmm. Might be in a certain part of your head, frontal, back, ears, might be in your chest, might be here, might be in your gut, might be in your knee, might be in your big toe, who knows? And so what you do is just simply sing the word peace or any tone, and you sing right into that spot. Mm-hmm. Okay, so like if it's in your heart, we go like, and the interesting thing is sometimes, depending on where the location is, your voice might want to go higher or lower, depending. And so allow your voice to modulate to higher or lower and just sing into that spot. Like, it's like for my heart, like, peace, peace, and you'll feel it change. It might move around, it might get smaller, it might get bigger, and just follow it for a while until it kind of dissipates or calms itself down. So that's a technique that you can use whenever you feel free to open up and use your voice, and just let the folks around you know that this is what's going on. If you don't like it, just hang in with me for a few minutes till I'm feeling better. And so those three techniques, sing with a drone, let your voice go up and down, clear your fields. If you want something that also clears and brings in positive qualities, I suggest this Buddhist, the Tibetan chanting, and then the peace method, which is just sing into a spot that feels the discomfort of the anxiety.
Mm-hmm. And our time is running short here, but I wanted to say this before we finish up. When you were using your voice or chanting or whatever you want to call it, I began to see different aspects of you. So it's like I was seeing other past lives of you. So your face began to change. That happens to me sometimes when I go into somewhat of an altered state. And so it was like there was different aspects of you, different essence cells of you that were coming through. It was like really cool.
Anything you want to tell me about on the podcast?
No, I was like, I just started seeing different faces and different energy coming through you. So I know that was a part of your essence cells that were working with you. So that happens to me sometimes. I was like, oh, so I knew this was powerful because it started, changing my third eye. My own third eye was being affected by that. So I wanted to leave that. But we just have a few minutes left. Can we go ahead and give people your contact information if they are interested in any of your instruments at a purchase or in teaching or contacting you today?
Right. I think the best thing is just to go to themonacotra.com. Can you see this on the screen?
I can't see that, huh? No, but I'm sure that.
No. Okay. Well, let me spell it out. Okay. Sorry. I thought I could do a screen share there, but apparently not. Okay. So it's MONO, mono. How about, let's see. Let me type it in the comments. Okay. That might help because some people can see the comments.
Okay. And then I think your email is fiddlinfred@gmail.com. Is that correct?
I think it's easier just to use the just use Fred Mayer PhD. That's easy.
Oh,
it's
okay.
Mayer, Fred Mayer PhD @gmail. And so this is also, let me just put this up here. So I just put up in the comments, monacotra.com. Can you see that in the comments?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a good contact for me, and my phone number and email address is there. or you can get, I'm on Facebook. That's another way to get in contact with me. So send me a friend request, say you're interested in Monocotra or wherever else you'd like. So, and I'm happy to work with anybody about, any of this kind of stuff. So
The question is, what is the name of the book and the author is what someone.
okay. Let me get that posted. I'm gonna cut and paste this.
Put my glasses on so I can see.
Yeah, let me get this. I have this on another screen, so let me just get this right here, and then I'm going to paste it right in here. Okay, there you go.
Thank you for your time with us, Fred. It's always
You
a
bet.
delight. It's great. I hope that you can get back home safely soon. And I know that wherever you go, you're spreading your light and your love, you and your life, Linda,
Thank you.
and you're doing great work wherever you go. So being a refugee is probably, it has mixed emotions, but I know you're leaving your trail of love and light. So throughout the country. So
Doing the best I can all the time.
and thanks for coming to see me in Illinois. That was
That was just a week
what a
ago. It
blessing.
seemed like so much
Yeah,
longer. We
what
had a
a-
great discussion. That was so much fun.
What a blessing. So yeah,
Yeah.
you took all your time to come. So thank you again. I appreciate it. I'll
Thank
see
you.
you
Thank you,
soon.
everybody.
And good luck with your show with Pam tomorrow.
Right. Thank you all so much.
All right. Thank you, Fred. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Just want to again say thank you to Fred Mayer. Fascinating show. Love the music. He's so talented. He has a plethora of knowledge. So tune in tomorrow with Pam Silver Eagle's show. I believe that's Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, I believe. Enlightening Conversations with Pam Silver Eagle. Next week, I have Alania Starhawk. We're going to talk about her book, Divine Self, Awakening and Sacred Remembrance. October 19th and October 26th, I won't be having shows. So next week will be my last show until November. So again, I'm really, really excited and delighted to have Alania Starhawk. She is from the St. Pete, Florida area, and she has this beautiful book, Divine Self, Awakening and Sacred Remembrance. So I'll be having that. As well, remember, every Monday morning I channel the mystical teachings of Mary Magdalene. I put this out on my Facebook, as well as the audio goes on to my YouTube channel. So you can just Google Lea Chapin, Leachapin, to find that audio recording of the mystical teachings of Mary Magdalene. And then my book, Divine Union, The Love Story of Jesus and Mary Magdalene, is available on Amazon. It's also available on my website, both in print, Kindle, and on my website, audiobook only, as well as my book, The 12 Mastery Teachings of Christ. I teach a lesson from this every month. I will be teaching the 10th lesson, which is the lesson of remembrance, on October 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And so these books are very powerful teachings of the Christ essence, and I wish you to take a look at those on my website, leachapin.com. So again, I want to say thank you again for Fred Mayer for being here with us today. Everybody have a great day. Go forward, use your voice, and allow your beautiful light to shine. And namaste. Have a great week.
Become a Goldylocks Productions VIP patron. Receive exclusive access to live stream special and other epic perks. Join the Goldylocks Productions VIP community today.